Hi and welcome to the Sunday Lunch Project Manager podcast for Sunday the 10th of March 2024. This is your host, Nigel Creaser, and today we've got the second part of my interview with Beata Chalet, the growth architect. Enjoy.
So people say, I want to be successful. I want to make hundreds of thousands of pounds or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or I want to be a millionaire. But they don't realize that where they are at, they don't have the skill set, the mindset, the actions. They're not taking the actions that are required to be at that level. I work with a lot of people that are, their net worth is multi-millions of dollars. And what happens is at that level, you have to think and act very differently. And I'm going to give you an example. So I was in a forum that I facilitate, and one of the people in the forum said, I'm looking for an executive assistant, a virtual assistant. And she says, well, I want to get somebody for $3. And I looked at her and I said, did you not just say the volume of contracts that are coming in the door are in excess of $3 million? And she says, yes. I said, why are you hiring somebody that's $3 an hour? Why are you even wasting your time?
So if you're listening to this, that means you've had a week's gap from episode 1, part 1, which means that you've had a week where you've been wondering what on earth was going to be said next in the next pieces, wondering what other nuggets of information were coming from my guest. And you've had a week where you haven't been able to apply those nuggets because you didn't know they existed or what they were, which is a little bit frustrating, really, because imagine how much more efficient, productive, or amazing you could have been. But you know there's a way around it. You know that you can pop along to Patreon, www.patreon.com/SundayLunchPM, or to Spotify, have a look at the feed, and there's a little lock. Click on the lock and it'll ask you to pay. It's the price of a coffee. That's it. A month, and you'll get everything a week early. And you won't have bits like this in it with me wittering on about becoming a patron and things like that. So have a think. And anyway, I'll shut up now because you're probably thinking, just get on with it, Nige. So yeah, here's the second part of the show. So I have a number of sponsors, affiliate links in the way that it's set up that have kindly allowed me to share their services, really. The first one is Mike Clayton, and Mike runs online PM courses, and it is a great resource for getting those fundamentals of project management trained, reasonably priced, and Mike presents it in an accessible and clear manner. You can check out some of his videos on his YouTube channel and kind of give you a view of where they are. But the code for that, if you go to nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, all one word, lowercase, that'll redirect you to it. There's very different levels that you can buy. You can buy individual courses, you can buy pathways as well, if you like. And I get a kickback off those. Mike kindly shares me that. So if you do jump on and use it, I hope you find it really useful. I think he has money back guarantees and things like that as well. So there's very limited risk on that. So jump on that, and that again, it's nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, and enjoy. That's an interesting one, actually, as a business and as a professional. It's something, growing your influence, growing your experience, and social media, and sort of advancements in change. Because if we think about, I remember I had a badge, and I can't remember how long ago, on LinkedIn, one of the first million LinkedIn members, and I think it's like 70 million now or something. Because I joined it way back when it first saw it, and I thought that sounds like a good idea. I'm too lazy to keep people's business cards. Most of the people I know are remote, so I can keep that connection. And it's kind of how do you see in this growth mindset that we're talking about before, and how those tools fit in?
I think that what's going to happen is what we'll be seeing is that a lot of platforms are going to go to deplatform users because it's all run by AI. I've been deplatformed from Facebook, where at 2:30 in the morning, my account was hacked and deleted, and along with it, my ad account, my pages, everything's unrecoverable, and there's no way going back. And my desire to give Facebook any advertising money now, after what they've done to me, after I've been on this platform, whatever, since the beginning, are literally zero.
Yeah.
So we're going to see more and more a tiredness and a people being less and less inclined to participate in some of this. And Facebook, I think Facebook is in trouble in general, because when you go on Facebook, everything is just advertising. People are not using it as much. If you look at who's posting and who's posting frequently, you go, dude, you can't be working, because if you're on Facebook all day posting, your spaghetti lunch, which nobody really cares about, then you must be having too much time in your hand. Hence, you're not busy. I don't have time for stuff like that. So I think we're going to see a lot of the platforms shifting. I think TikTok is going to become bigger and bigger and bigger because of the... it's just a popular thing. The next thing's going to be just around the corner. I believe that LinkedIn is establishing itself very, very strongly as a professional leadership tool. So if you're not on LinkedIn, why are you even listening to this call? Literally. And on LinkedIn, you need to look at this like this is your resume that's visible to everybody.
That's always been the way that I've treated it.
That's always been the way I've treated it. And when I say something about stupid people, I say, I am not really sure why this is on LinkedIn, but I just want to tell you what I tell my clients, that stuff like that will make you lose clients. And you didn't even know, because your comments are visible from your page. It says recently posted on, and then you can click and then you can go and see what I posted on just from my page. Yeah. Now, if I'm having posts like UXXX or UXXX, or I put people down, that's not going to work. So you want to be very, very clear about that. So social media is definitely here to stay, but the platforms are shifting as we speak. What you said is not interesting me, and I don't feel like the need to be out there as much. I think that's general. It's a fatigue that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Because there really is no real information. It's all marketing, and people just don't want to be marketed to as much anymore. The rules have changed anyway. So if you're in business, you better be changing the way you do things. And LinkedIn, to some degree, is still working, but even though the advertising is ridiculous, literally every connection request is a pitch. Yeah. Every single connection request is a pitch.
I think it gets to the point where it's so often now that I'll get a pitch and someone's got a project management role of some description and their title, and then immediately that I've accepted the connection that I get. Do you want PMI certification? Do you want APPM? Do you want this certification? 10 days, guaranteed money. And I'm like...
Those people that do the PMP certification need to be arrested and thrown in jail with the key thrown away. Yeah. Literally, I get 50 of them a day.
Yeah. Yeah, touch wood, I don't get that many, but it's just one of those ones you just go, dude, look, it's boring, and then you get people who go there, right? Do you want this developer job? Because I've got quite often Pega for some reason. I've got Pega in on my on my experience, so I get Pega developer job. And they've not read what is there, and it's kind of I get bored at times where I just go back to and go, right, okay, which part of my CV of my profile did you think fitted this job? I'm really curious. Can you help me, please? Mm-hmm. It's tumbleweed from then. No answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
Or just a simple response. What made you reach out?
yeah, yeah. And you just any engagement other than yes, please, and you get a pushback on it, don't you?
You get crickets, yes.
Yeah. So just there was a few things that we talked about in your business. You were saying about where you were in photography and doing production work with it was Elle magazine and people like that, and just a thought on that, and just trying to not constrain it. It always reminds me when I look at maybe directors, producers of movies. I also think from sort of like this kind of thing where you'll be doing for clients, shoots for clients, and that sort of stuff. They're very much in the realms of, I think, parallel, if not just another name of project management.
Oh,
Because
100%.
yeah, just kind of with those sort of roles, and I know there's subtle differences, and working with creatives is well, it can
Wild and crazy.
be IT people as well, because actually, when I look at it, I think there's a lot of creativity as part of what we all have. But
I think so. I think project management is a lot of creativity, and people always go like, "Oh," but it's like, no, it's amazing.
especially in status reports, I find that's where most of the creation goes in. But it's creative writing generally in those. But what? How did you? What would you say were the things that kind of stood out for you in that period? That if you looking at it from a project management point of view, um, what were the key things that what was the process, a sort of 5 minute process of if you had a client who you're doing a shoot for? Is it similar to sort of a marketing client would be working, or is this what are the kind of things you had to do? It's a long garbly question. Apologies.
Well, I mean, you just go and you look and you say, well, what are we doing? What's the goal here? And then we know if we're doing a catalog, or we're doing an ad, or we're doing hang tags, or point of sales support stuff that goes on the clothing, and you know what you need to do and how many you need to do and for what kind of products, and whether they're mood shots or actual product shots. And then you have to reverse engineer, and you say, well, how many models do we need for that? And how many days do we need for that? And are we having an overall theme for this production? Where are we going to go on the location? And then you look for locations, you provide locations, you do castings for models, you suggest models, you send them, a lot of times I send them to Europe. We have FedEx back then, before even all this internet stuff was available. And you just go and you think about, if this is the project and I need to bring it back to today, what are the things that I need to do from here until then? So there's a schedule, there's a timeline, there's a production plan, there's a production book. There are things that you can foresee, things you cannot foresee, the weather, and
risk management then.
Yeah, risk management, exactly. But I find it very comparable on whether I do strategic planning for like a company like Amazon for one of their units, or whether I did a photo production. I find it not very different. It's like, what do you want? What do we know? What do we have? What's a priority? What do we need to get away with? What are we doing? And then how are we going to do it? And then you do it.
Yeah. No, that's interesting, because it always you don't. It's a lot of those. It's the whole definition of a project, isn't it? It's something with a finite start and end goal. And you look at movies, you look at games design, you look at art magazines even on a monthly basis as well. And you look at the digital websites and all those things, and all of those have got that. When you pull the curtains back and I look at behind it and I go, no one is called a project manager in those roles.
No.
You might have someone, I don't know, say within a big movie, they might do something where they'll have project manager for IT, they'll be within those specialist arenas. But the fact is that whole thing, and that in all the creative industries, they're project managers all over the place. They just don't have those roles titles.
No, I mean, we call producers.
Yeah.
So that's the title. But yes, a producer or a line producer is right along the lines of the same thing. But I think the project management it's really all about operations. How do we make it function? And how do we put these systems in place? And what do we need? And how do we get people to come together and do change management, or implement a new process, or get a project done on time, or how do we even break it down? And I think it's the same thing. I mean, how do I break this down into small steps? And then who are the people that are performing those small steps? I think there's a lot of similarities. You're absolutely correct, Nigel.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just looking back over it, I just brought up the script that when I introduced you earlier. There was a couple of things in there I wanted to have a chat about, really. First, I suppose the two things that maybe they go hand in hand. You'll tell me that you're the founder of the Women's Code, and you've got your award-winning book, Happy Woman World. Do you want to just tell us about those? Are they connected? Are they separate, or are they? And that handbook about, I've got some female listeners out there about, and how they, as Brian Tracy describes it, I'm sure they want to be. They want health, success, and a fulfilling career. So, do you want to talk about?
I mean, I've been, when I started my career, very many times. I was the only woman in the room, or the most opinionated woman in the room, maybe, to put it that way. I felt that as I went through my career, and I was a single parent, I was an immigrant, I'm living in the United States, I found that there is very little no BS information for women out there. A lot of the stuff is so fluffy. Woman in an oversized sweater, perfect makeup, her eyebrows done, with a cute little baby crawling in the sparkling clean kitchen floor. She's drinking a nice glass of Cabernet with a laptop, with one hand with a fully manicured finger on it, telling us in only 4 hours a week she's making an extra $20,000 a month. I have found that is not true. I have found that the reality is messy. That the reality is cars breaking down, bills needing to be paid, kids getting sick at the inappropriate time, you're not feeling good, you are having to do all these things, and you are always struggling with trying to do everything together, but then everywhere you go, you have this vision of this perfect version of yourself that looks nothing like you, because people don't want to talk about it. And so I wrote the book, Happy Woman, Happy World, because I wanted to give women an actual guide. And in the book, I'll outline exactly how you overcome the superhuman paradox. And how do you get out of this perfectionism mode? And how do you understand this concept of ego rhythms, which means that we all have different rhythms in life that we are in. You cannot be in 9 rhythms at the same time that each have the same value. Sometimes the relationship's most important. Sometimes your kids are most important. Sometimes you are most important. Sometimes there's a tragedy. Sometimes there's a health scare. You have to learn how to set priorities. And, I teach that in the book under the concept ego rhythm. And I called it the Women's Code Presents because I wanted women to understand that we have to have a code amongst each other, because men have a code. And if we don't understand that the larger battle is out there, not amongst each other, we'll never get there. Because this women fighting other women is fueled by society, is fueled by men, because if women take each other out, good for men. Then they don't have to worry about 50% of the competition. Why wouldn't they? And sometimes somebody just makes an absolutely ridiculously stupid comment, and the comment goes like, "Oh my God, you're so emotional." What the heck is that supposed to mean? And women take the bait. What do you mean? Why do you say that? I'm not emotional. You already lost. You already lost because you responded to something absolutely atrociously stupid. Rather than that, if anybody ever makes a stupid comment, you can be black, white, green, yellow, purple. You can be a woman, man, LGBTQ plus, anything in between. When somebody says something really stupid to you, here's what you do. And you do exactly what I tell you. You do. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that was funny. So what I was just saying, and you go right back to where you were. It's called a checkmate move. There is no recovering from that. When somebody says something stupid, you lean your head back, you start laughing like it's the funniest thing you ever heard. If you can squeeze out a tear and wipe it off, like it's so ridiculous, you don't respond. You just say, oh, good one. Good one, John. Oh, I haven't heard that one in a long time. So what I was saying is, and you go right back.
Yeah, I can see how that would work.
It's so effective. It is so effective. And this person, whoever said that, will never say it again.
Yeah.
Because now they look like an absolute moronic idiot. And everybody else goes like, ooh, that hurt, John.
Mm.
Yeah, that's one for her.
Yeah, it's interesting that I think over the years, the change in the dynamic in work is it's fascinating. And as I said before, I'm from a point of view of where I'm not getting the discrimination. I do see where people are competing, or have seen less so now. I've got to say, there's a lot more support I see within groups of each other rather than competing with each other. And I think there's more. And again, maybe it's my perception. My perceptions have changed in the last 10 years. My historic I'm trying to think. I've got kind of the biases from my growing up, from where I came from. They've changed. I've recognized those biases. I've recognized the things that, as a younger me, because of where I grew up in the 70s and 80s in the UK, there was the bias from a race, from from gender, and from sexual preference. There is a lot of things that were around at that time that influenced me, and not in a overt behaviour way, but in an underlying sort of shaping of my thinking, which I've changed in the last 10 years significantly.
Look, back then everybody was like that. It's not that. I mean, come on. In Germany we had books that referred to particular races, and we had these chocolate covered marshmallow things, and they had a really not a race friendly name.
Yeah.
And so there were things that people did and said. I mean, we were playing cowboys and robbers, and and in Catholicism there is still to this day, when the wise men go around, one of them is black, and so there is often a white guy that puts the black paint in the face, which is today completely inappropriate and will immediately get you arrested for racial inappropriation and stuff like that. So I think we also need to give each other a little bit of a break. Nobody's trying to impersonate anybody. I think a lot of this was not meant in a bad way. It's just that we took on these kinds of things because we didn't know any better until we could think for ourselves, and then we said, look, it's really not okay. And as long as we have that, it's all good. It's gotten a little out of control in some instances, where I'm now hearing stories about kids wanting to be addressed as furries, and where somebody has multiple genders, and then mid-conversation they want to be addressed as she, and mid-conversation then as he. It makes it very difficult for other people to even follow that concept. So I don't think people always mean bad. I think people just don't understand the sensitivities, but then you may not understand my sensitivities around that. And I may not understand your sensitivities around that. But if I come from a place saying, like, I believe that you do the very best you can, Nigel, and you assume that I'm doing the very best I can, and if I say something, you say, you know what, Beate, I think I understand where you're coming from, but this could be offensive for somebody, and here's why. Point taken. Done. Move on. We don't have to sue each other. We don't have to throw a fit. We don't have to call anybody. We don't have to make a social media post. You don't have to call me a Karen. It's just like done in the conversation. Not to say that some people really are absolutely atrocious and full-on racists and misogynistic jerks, and they should probably be called out, but most people don't come from a bad place.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think it's easy to. I think from all cases, we all need to be in that situation where we're going, hang on, we need to be open to feedback, and we need to be in a safe place where someone feels they can give feedback to someone about these things, because it's difficult from both sides of the fence for us to be able to say, right,
Yeah.
okay, when, like you said, exactly what you said, someone could take umbrage of what they're saying, depending on how it's delivered. And it's something we've got to learn on how to take that and kind of get it's being open about that feedback, and talk about how it makes someone feel. When you say that makes me feel like this. Could you do it different? It's a standard feedback kind of model, isn't it? When you do that, it means we have to do this, which makes it harder. And it's about changing. And I saw I think what I sort of sit here and I think, how could me, and I try to, and I don't know how ought to do it right. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. How can I support women in business, and how can I support people who are, um, as a bloke who's got advantages? How do I support someone like that, and how do I become an ally? And what are the sort of things that what we can do, and male listeners out here can actually
Yeah,
do?
I think the most important thing is to really be aware of your own behavior and just know that there is a wolf pack mentality that often kicks in, to be cognizant what is being said in the room. And as leaders or project managers, I mean, you are managing the project, to not just have the extroverted men speak, but then also go to the introverted women and say, that was really wonderful, John. Thank you so much for sharing that. Sabine, I know that you like to mull over the things before you speak. Anything you would like to add? And gently bring people into the conversation, because especially on the introverted side, people are often feeling it. Extroverts are running them over and there's no voice in the room. So really learn how to be a good facilitator and to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to speak, and that you are not driven by your own biases, where you are, because a lot of times we go like, oh God, she has such a shitty vibe, I don't even want her to be in the room. Well, there has to be a reason for that. Maybe it's an experience. I have a headline, that I use on an email, and that headline is, "Are you okay?" And what I have learned is, I originally used this as a marketing ploy on "Are you okay?" because it gets a phenomenal open rate. But then when people say, "No, not really. My wife of 50 years had a heart attack and died last week,"
Yeah.
Um, that person is not okay. So
Yeah.
you just don't know what's happening to someone. And when you come from this perspective of love and understanding and collaboration, and say, am I really living up to the leadership potential that I believe I have, that I give equal room for everybody, that when somebody comes up with an absolutely stupid idea, that I go, okay, I'm not quite understanding yet where you're going with that. Can you tell me more about that? I really want to make sure I get that, and not saying like, ugh, we tried that 5 years ago. That was a disaster. No. So give yourself these things of openness, and take your own biases out. And then and then give somebody the microphone.
Yeah.
Help other people to lead. Say, you know what, Sabine, I'm going to not say anything. I'm just going to let you run with that part. Are you okay with that? You up for that? Why? Make sure that you take as many people with you as you can. And a lot of times, leadership or project management, yes, we're in charge and our name is on it. Everybody knows our name on it. Everyone knows we are managing the project. Doesn't matter how you get it done. If it gets done correctly, nobody says, what part did Sabine have in this? Did you really it's still you as the project manager. You're still the boss on the project. You still get all the credit. And then you can say, you know what? Then you can be the humble guy. And you can say, you know what? Sabine, I really got to call her out on this one. Boy, that woman stepped up on this project. She really deserves here a round of recognition. Because then you look good, because as a leader, you found a team member that was stepping up to the occasion. Everybody wins. That's what you need to go in with, that nobody's here to take anything away from you, that you're here to elevate and advance people.
That's some fantastic advice. And that downward recognition to the team, I think, is fantastic.
Always.
And across as well, I've got a list from my latest project written up on my wall there, where I've got to, through our system, to actually go in and go, right, here's write the thing for the people to do it. Sometimes I've done it straight away when I've seen things. Sometimes I've batched them up, and I think it is so important. And where those bringing that device of bringing people into the conversation and making sure that you spot there's something wrong and are you okay? I love that idea. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and the other thing that I do is when I start a meeting, I say, what are you grateful for and what are you proud of? So then people say, and it could be anything. It could be personal, or it could be the project. And somebody says, well, I'm really grateful. You know, my wife gave birth the other day. We're a little tired, but, you know, boy, you know, we sure like our chubby little monster. That's great to be grateful, because you want people to be in a good mindset. And what I'm proud of is I'm proud of that I'm part of this team. I really feel that I'm learning. Or people say stuff that they're proud of that you didn't even know they did.
Yeah.
I researched last night until midnight. You know, this one thing that on this project that I couldn't figure out how to solve. So proud of myself that I woke up with the solution this morning. You wouldn't even know unless you asked. So also give a platform for people to share some personal things, because that makes a better team.
Yeah, we were doing something in lockdown, and on one of the projects, one of our managers, she put in place, which I initially kind of went, I'm not sure about that, but I think it worked really well, was in our stand-up we were having every morning, was kind of what was the best thing that happened last night.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, yes. Please keep it PG though,
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so much sharing you can do. Because I used to do that with my little one when she used to struggle at school. I'd be saying, what was the best thing that happened today at school?
Yeah.
Not what happened at school, because then I'd get one girl was saying,
exactly.
What I wanted was what was the best thing that happened.
Yeah.
You're coming up on time. I know you're going to have to scoot and stuff. Was there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. There's one thing that I've done because I do believe that there's a huge shift in the market toward consultants and coaches. Mm-hmm. And I've explained this extensively in the last couple of months. An employee is an expense. A consultant is a business development investment. Make sure that if you are in the independent route, that you are looking at your language and that you're positioning yourself in such a way that the companies know that you're not just a project manager, but that you are really a solution-driven expert that will help them to develop the business forward, because that's language that they're using and that they're seeking right this very moment. And the other thing is I've developed a quiz, and this quiz is called What's Your Talent Worth? And I had so many people that says, well, I want to go out on my own, or I want to take the side hustle and the full hustle, or I don't think I'm making enough money. And I send them to the quiz, whatsyourtalentworth.com. It's an actual calculation, it's a mathematical calculation. So you put the numbers in, make sure you only put numbers in, not don't write 2, just put in the number 2. And then it will go to a space, and then it'll calculate based on our formula, and then it'll spit out a number. Then either your number is really low, and then you're not valuing yourself, or your number is really high and you're not making that number, then you're missing something in the way you're positioning yourself. So it's really designed to help you what's going on in this economy, in this market, where the potential is, and then looking at how do you value yourself, and then if there's anything you need to talk about afterward, you come to me. You can of course always listen to my show, the Business Growth Architect Show, where we talk about success at the intersection of where strategy meets spirituality, because I believe that you cannot be successful unless you have internal and mindset control, where you are not reacting but fully in charge of everything. And make sure that wherever you pick up this show, that you go and pick up the show, you give Nigel a 5-star review, write a little comment are critical because of AI. AI looks for engagement. And then maybe share this episode with one other person who needs to hear what we were talking about today.
Yeah, I totally echo that sport. That discoverability is amazing. So Beata, there's only one thing to say is thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to get in touch, what is the best website to jump on, or is it LinkedIn or email or whatever?
Yeah, I would just go to uncoverysession.com and fill out a 15-minute uncovery session. Let's talk. If you heard something, in any other case, just take the quiz. I'm all over social media. Drop in the DM. Let me know what you heard on the show that resonated with you. Always happy to have a conversation.
Fantastic. So, thank you again for being on the show, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Nigel. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So it should have. Another great sponsor of the show comes in the form of AirManual. AirManual is it's a tool for documenting process, which and best practices. It's a company formed by one of my interviewees, Alexis Kingsbury. Essentially, and I kind of summarised why my view of where we see documentation, and my experience has been people will document something, a process, they'll put it in a Visio diagram that gets loaded onto a SharePoint site or something similar, and then a bunch of that. So then once that diagram's been shared with senior management, they're happy they have a process in the business. But then the detailed procedures underneath it might be in Word documents, in just poorly kept and not linked easily and not updated. And what AirManual does, it allows you to put in it's a tool for doing this kind of thing. You whack it in, the service in there, get in there, put in your process, your flow, and you build it down to as low a level of detail, even to the point of checklists where people can check off they've done it. So it creates that guided checklists, easy to create, easy to maintain, and all in one place. And no one's kind of rooting around to find the SharePoint, and then when you change to new SharePoint services and all that stuff, it's all there. So if you pop along to nigelcreaser.com/airmanual, there's a bit more detail there and a link there to click on to go and get. I think they offer a trial and things like that. So it's something that I think can easily reduce the amount of errors, rework, etc. within our organisation. So take a look. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Come back next week and we will have a fresh guest on the show. Speak soon. Bye. So this is my final wrap up. Every week you're going to hear this. You're going to get bored of it, but you can always click next podcast if so. If you have enjoyed it, if you listened to this podcast to the end of this show and you think that was great, I'd love to be able to help Nigel out. There are loads of ways you can do it. The first and obvious way is to share the podcast. Send it out to people. If you know colleagues and friends who'd benefit from it, you think they'd enjoy it, just send them the link. Grab one of the links or send them to www.nigelcreaser.com/podcasts. That's www.nigelcreaser.com/podcasts, and that will push them over to a Linktree link, and it's got all of the different ways they can consume the podcast. If you are feeling generous and have a big bag of cash, you could grab a copy of one of my books. Obviously, they're available in all the usual places, in print and digital. Again, jump on the website, www.nigelcreaser.com/shop, and that will give you a list of all the different ways that you can contribute and grab copies of the book. Also got links to all my guests' books on there as well, where I get a little bit of a kickback from them. If you are of a sporting mind, I have a number through doing some of my judo and running antics. I've managed to secure a few affiliate links and affiliates there as well. So in there, somewhere in the sponsors page, there's links to those as well. So clicking onto those and grabbing if you're looking to get super fit, then that would be fabulous as well, and I get a little kickback from those. I have a Patreon account. It's patreon.com/sundaylunchpm. So again, you can ping something in there, buy me a coffee or whatever. And finally, obviously the most important is coming back, listen again, because the more of you that come back, the more visibility I get, because there's more times that it's downloaded and all the SEO works and things like that. So yeah, that's it. So if you can help me out, I would be much appreciated. If you can't, don't worry about it. Thank you very much. Cheers now. Bye. My latest, the latest affiliate that I've got on the show now is Riverside. I use Riverside to do my interviews, Riverside FM. It kind of offers you a whole, if you like, micro studio management producer tooling and goes beyond that. Has a really good free layer. And I've been using it for a while now. I find it really good. When I've had issues, even though I'm not on one of the higher paid levels, the support has been quick, responsive and of high quality, and people keen to help me. The organisation seems really good. The product seems really intuitive. And quality is really good as well. And it's a clever way of doing it is when you're recording through your browsers, so you've not got loads of desktop resources being used compared to some other products that I've used. And what they also do is they stream a lower quality version of it up onto as you're doing the interview, so you're not burning bandwidth while you're doing the interview and potentially impacting on the quality of the conversation. And then at the end, it uploads it, the higher quality from your browser. It's just a really good way of doing it. So if you are thinking of doing a podcast, and know someone who's doing a podcast, I would recommend using this tool. I found it really good. Best of the tools that I've tried using to date. And you can get that at nigelcreaser.com/riverside, and that will redirect you to my kickback page on their site, and there I will get a little kickback from them. So take a look. Thanks. Well, it's goodbye from me, Nigel Creaser, and it's goodbye from him, the Sunday Lunch PM. Goodbye.